Hello, everybody. This is Daniel Diaz, Executive Director of Citizens for Sound Money, and we have Rob Keens, one of our board members and also the founder of the Freedom Report. We are restarting our YouTube channel. It was just the C4SM channel, and as most of you know, Jim was the person who did all the interviews. And since his passing in March, we've taken a hiatus from doing the YouTube videos, but now it's gotten to a point where we feel that it's time to restart because there's a lot of things going on around the world, a lot of things going on with Citizens for Sound Money that we want to update you all on. And it's going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past. In the past, we just interview people, and we're going to still interview people. But every other week, we're going to have this kind of format where it's kind of lighthearted. It's not going to be so market oriented and focused. And we're going to talk about the markets, but it's going to be more free flowing versus structured and asking questions. So I want to introduce you guys. You should know him, Rob Keens. He's going to be my co-star on the Citizens for Sound Money, Dan and Rob show. And it's sound money, sound markets, sound politics. So I do want to let everybody know that the views of myself and Rob are our own views. They don't reflect the views of Citizens Sound Money, and anything we say concerning financial markets and investments is not a financial advice. Do your own research. So, Rob, welcome to the new reset of the C4SM channel.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. I've been missing the videos, so hey, it's a lot of fun to be a part of the first one back.
Yeah. So I think we were talking before the show that we wanted to first give everybody an update on the legislative side of things. So, I guess I'll go ahead and start. So last year, for those of you that did not know, we worked with three other organizations to get legislation filed in 27 states. Of those 27 states, 7 states got something passed. And the organizations that we worked with to cover those 27 states were ourselves, Citizens for Sound Money, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, which not only covers Missouri, but all the states around Missouri, the Sound Money Defense League, which they primarily focus on tax issues, sales tax and capital gains. But they also help us out. We share resources and contacts. And then Economic War Room, which is the only nonprofit in our coalition of 4. They're a for-profit company, and they're dedicating their own funds and time to try to get the Sound Money Act and other sound money legislation passed. So what is going to happen this year? If we got in 27 states and only 7 states had something passed, what is the plan? What we learned last year was that omnibus bill, the Sound Money Act, with everything we wanted in one bill, was a hard pill to swallow. So we learned when we were lobbying in Missouri that it's a lot more effective to break up the legislation into 4 or 5 parts. And by doing that, not only did those 5 bills continue through, 2 amended bills came out of those 5. So we had 7 bills in Missouri. And by the end of session, we had 2 viable sound money bills. Constitutional Money Act in Missouri is what they call it, on the last day of session. But because of some political shenanigans that were going on, we couldn't get it through. But the success that we had in Missouri by splitting it up is what we plan on doing this legislative session. And our number 1 priority right now is Florida. Last year, we had the Speaker of the House on board. We had the governor on board. We had the legislature and the House and the Senate on board. But we had one person that wasn't, and that was former Senator, she's still a senator, but the former Senate President, Pasadomo. She refused to allow any version of the bill to be brought up. But fortunately for the state of Florida, we have a new incoming Senate President, Senator Al Britton. Let me show you who he is. Senator Al Britton is the incoming Senate President. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, he is very, very intrigued about the Sound Money Act. He is very intrigued about the pirate money, which is Kevin Freeman. Kevin Freeman is that organization I told you about, the for-profit. He wrote a book called Pirate Money. I think the founder's secret plan for social justice, economic justice, and defeating the Great Reset. We met with him on the 21st of October to discuss the book. He promised us he'd read the book. And We met with him for 20 minutes and he did 90% of the talking. He was reiterating the book. He was very excited. He was telling his legislative affairs director all about the book and the research he needs to make a decision on how he's going to move potentially move the bill forward. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked to 100%. We've talked to hundreds of legislators last year, and leadership and non-leadership. This is the best meeting I've had, along with our lobbyist Anthony Verdugo from Winning Strategies in Miami. He's also the co-founder of the Christian Family Coalition. The best meeting we've had with any leader of any legislature, and I think we might have a phenomenal shot at getting this through in Florida. So that is the most recent update. We're working with other states, but the election just ended. We're letting the dust settle, let them all swear in, and then I'm going to be sending out emails and reaching out to other legislators. I need to follow up with other people who've called in from Montana and other places, citizens that want us to help them with their legislative efforts. So, Rob, any thoughts about this upcoming year and the legislation?
So it's interesting. The last 6 to 9 months of me being involved in this on the political side has been a lot of fun. I know you and I did a Spaces channel. That was a lot of fun. And now we're really doing the YouTube channel, really to reach out to more people. All the grassroots organizations. It's been interesting to see the Port Fest with the Freedom Project in New Hampshire. You have in Missouri the Freedom Initiative, Economic War Room in Texas, Citizens for Sound Money Defense League. I'm just naming all these because there are a lot of initiatives, even more that we haven't even talked about, that are springing up, and it's springing up from the people. And they're working at their local and state level because they have to, because the federal level people feel like they've been disenfranchised. That people aren't listening to them. And the key thing is that people are reaching out toward freedom. And it's hard to have freedom when you have a monetary system that's not sound. And what we say at Citizens for Sound Money is fix the money, fix the world. Because when you fix the money, it puts the power back in the hands of the people. And I think that's what the framers of the Constitution wanted. And it's just been a lot of fun to see and to be a part of. I've been talking about the gold silver markets for 15 years, but I hadn't been a part of the people's movement, I'll call it, on sound money and freedom in America. And it's just been really cool to watch and see all the developments. We didn't get it passed in Florida last year, but I've got a lot of hope because both sides of the aisle, and I think our legislation was some of the only legislation in recent memory in Florida that got bipartisan support. We had Democrats, we had Republicans, we had support all the way leading up to hearing the bill. And there's a lot of interest in next year, Daniel, going back to that bill. It's a legislative priority in Florida. And, they're spending some money studying it and making sure, it's revenue neutral for the state. And it's just really encouraging that you can work at that level. You can work at the state and local level. Often much more effectively, you can work at the federal level. And what that ultimately leads to probably is going to be a referendum on the rights of the people of the Constitution, Amendment 10, the Bill of Rights. All rights not explicitly granted, go to the state and the people. So
Right.
how much power the people can actually have? But the people have spoken. I think with the recent election, they've spoken as well about what they want. And it'd be interesting to see the next few years how does that manifest? Do we get sound money again, or some of the other freedoms that have been infringed upon, constitutional freedoms addressed by the new administration? There's a lot of stuff just going on, and a lot of hope. And we'll get to that at the end of the video in terms of our hopeful outlook about what's going on. But this has been a pleasure to be a part of C4SM and see all the stuff that's going on, all the people that are working behind the scenes.
Yeah, and a lot has happened just in the 1 year and a month that I've been executive director. I mean, we have really skyrocketed. The legislative efforts really brought a light upon our organization, and we are getting some amazing people involved in our 501c3. So Citizens of Sound Money has a 501c3 called the Sound Money Movement. It's an education foundation. We're going to be launching our website soon. Hopefully, by the time this airs, we will have our first posts and our website up for the Sound Money Movement. And we're also doing a TV show. We'll touch on that briefly near the end of the show. But yeah, it's very exciting what we're doing. And it's extremely important because sound markets require sound money. And easy money, the fiat currency, is what has caused most of the problems, in my opinion, of the human race. Um, and some of the things that people say when we're advocating for sound money, which is what our mission is, right? To promote the use of sound money and protect people's rights to do so, is they say, well, gold is too volatile, silver is too volatile, right? Like, since the election, gold is down. I think it was down 4% yesterday. It's down almost a little over 0.5% today. So, what do you think about the future of gold? I think you and I talked about in one of our private chats and one of our group chats, our views of what this means short term and what it means long term. I'll let you kind of take it away.
Yeah, I think the presidential election put a lot of euphoria into the market. Oh, we're going to solve everything, and certainly uh, uh, in terms of the finance situation, regardless of what you think about the incoming administration, that their finance plans are definitely um, more conducive to a stable dollar than the opposition's. I'll just put it that way. And so there was a lot of euphoria about that. I think what we see with the gold market is it's a sell-off due to there being so much short pressure in the market. Gold price is determined by the derivative market, not the physical trade. So the banks and the clients of the banks needed to cover. They have the big short position on gold and silver and have since I've been covering it for 15 years. And they needed to reduce that you can't have shorts for too long because you can lose a lot of money. Eventually those contracts come due. So the election was a good way for the powers that be that are on the short side of gold and silver to take some profits, cover a lot of their shorts, reduce some of their positions. I'll be talking about that later on today when I do a video on my channel. And people have been following me for a long time know we cover that. We cover that market and what's going on. I think
Yeah.
also there's a sense of euphoria in the financial markets about what happened in the elections, that
Yeah.
people see this as, this new administration coming in and they're going to fix a lot of things. There's been talk about getting rid of the income tax. There's been talk about reducing government waste and, the appointment of Elon Musk to that. There's been talk of a lot of things that would take us back to an older form of the constitutional republic, right? In
Yeah.
terms of the monetary system and freedoms of the people and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's great. We'll talk about in the end of the video about what that could possibly mean. But yeah, that makes sense of why there's a pullback. And we also saw the Dow shoot up. We saw bond rates shoot up. The Dow shooting up, long term, the Dow is going to go as the Fed prints money and they're going to an easing cycle. The bonds going up is actually not good because the higher interest rates mean you got to pay more for debt, and that's going to come back down. So I see a lot of this stuff that happened in the last couple of days in the financial markets reversing course because people are going to wake up to the sober reality that just because you have an election, first of all, these people don't come in office until January, and it takes months and even years to enact reform. There was a good video yesterday about in the first 2 years before we get to the next set of congressional elections is when you want to pass all your bills, because a lot of times winning administrations lose votes in Congress in the middle, when those midterms come up. So I think there's going to be a concentrated effort on the new administration to pass a bunch of stuff, but that takes time. We're still sitting at $36 trillion in debt. That didn't go away. So my view on gold and silver is the same as it always been. It's a long-term financial stability. I don't think that's going to change. Anything that happens between now and the end of the year, it's temporary. But I don't see it changing the 1 year, 5 year, 10 year picture for gold and silver at all.
How about silver?
Silver is very
Same.
volatile, but what's happening with silver is there are real shortages in silver. It's been reported the last 4 years that the mine output's not enough to cover for the overall physical demand in the markets to almost 1 billion ounces. Almost 1 billion ounces over the last 4.5 years short. What's happened recently is a lot of the demand was contract positions on the derivative markets. Now, the industrial demand's caught up with the mine output because silver's used in everything. It's probably the most important mineral in the world right now. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's talking about how important silver is. People in our
Yeah.
communities know, but the mainstream media doesn't talk about it. We're literally at a point at which that silver market could break pretty soon. There's been signs that there's not enough in in the UK market. There's not enough in the US market. You've got the BRICS nations now establishing their own exchanges because I think that they're trying to control supply and on their end. And so what you're seeing, I predicted this years ago, about 4 years ago, I think, in a Metal Money and Mines conference, I was on saying commodity wars are underway, and you're going to have this split of all the commodity sector, and you're not going to have the US and UK dominating this. Now it's starting to split apart. The BRICS have got their own markets because these commodities are so short that everybody's going to race for them and try to control them. So you're going to see some commodity warfare going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's positive for the base metals, but particularly the precious metals, because we're going to go into a financial crisis at some point, and he who has the metals is going to win that game. And
100%.
the Eastern world knows that.
Well, and just sorry to interrupt, but not just precious metals, all commodities, copper, uranium, lithium,
Yeah.
especially silver, right? They've come out with batteries that can hold and charge and last longer with silver, right?
Yeah, there's
And then,
amazing designs that Tesla thinks that they can shrink their battery packs in their cars to a fraction
yeah,
of what they are because of these new silver battery technologies.
yeah,
So
100%.
silver, and if you look at the solar demand, we've all talked about this in the community. If you look at all the demand for EVs, solar projects, these green initiatives, all these governments want, there's
Yeah,
not enough silver above ground. And how are you going to get it out of the ground? There's going to be a ton of investment going into it. So you're going to see silver price go up. You're going to see the silver stock prices go up as people invest because they know the next silver is going to come from the next mine output. So they're going to start investing in the miners. So I think a bull market for gold and silver and a bull market for the gold and silver miners.
yeah.
Yeah.
I see that too, and I think with nuclear being one of the priorities
Mm.
for Trump's energy push, oil is going to be a great industry. I mean, everything is going to skyrocket. Now the price of oil will come down, but I think there's going to be a lot of infrastructure investments into the industry itself.
Yeah.
And I think energy is going to blow up, and especially now remember, this isn't financial advice, everybody. This is just our opinions and our views. um
Yeah. The
but yeah,
next 5 years is going to be big for commodities, energy commodities, precious
yeah,
metals, anything that's critical to building out infrastructure, things like copper. If we go into a worldwide recession, a lot of these commodities will come down temporarily, but those recessions usually lead into big build phases.
yeah,
So as we get to the end of that recession and beyond, the demand on a lot of these base metals, these critical base metals, in the energy uh, metals and energy, nuclear, plutonium, uranium, even maybe getting into the thorium age, oil that you mentioned, natural gas, they're all coal.
yes,
Look at Germany. They try to get rid of their nuclear reactors. And now they're one of the biggest coal users in the world. It's like you can shift it around to whatever energy metal or energy product you want, but you're still going to use energy. It's just the way it is.
yeah, 100%. And I still think the fundamentals are there that we're going to have a recession or pullback. I
Yeah.
think what Trump's election has done, it has delayed slightly the collapse that I think you and I and a lot of people have been talking about and
Mm.
predicting, because the fundamentals for collapse are still there. We're still at the 100 and almost 30% debt to GDP.
Yeah.
We still have way too much currency. The de-dollarization is still happening. BRICS nations already announced that they're going to back it with 40% gold. Russia's announced that they're backing their reserves with silver. They're going to start buying silver. So all the fundamentals, macroeconomical and geopolitical fundamentals, are still there. But Trump getting elected, it's going to delay it a little. And he says he wants to raise tariffs and he wants to pay down the debt. If he's successful in increasing revenue through different tariffs, cutting income tax so people can invest into the markets and get that cash flow right through the economy, then it would push it back further. And if he actually is able to start paying down the debt and somehow balance the budget, then we might have a quote unquote soft landing. But otherwise, I just don't see the numbers there. But we got a few more minutes. We're trying to keep our broadcast to about 25-30 minutes a piece. We don't want to do a long form. So concerning the global side of things, the Fed just cut rates yesterday by 25 basis points. Let me pull that up here.
Yeah, and they
Fed cut,
did. This will be
yeah,
the second cut this year. They did the 0.5% cut and now the 0.25%,
yeah,
which is key because on November 11th, we were bouncing up against a trend line of reduced liquidity in the system. But real
uh-huh.
quick, the Fed and European Central Bank have been reducing overall liquidity. This is a good chart by Finance Lot. Since mid to third quarter 2022, and a week after the election, we were looking at an inflection point of were we going to go into another repo market crisis? Were we going to have bank failures? That's a serious issue. And by the Fed cutting a quarter point, they may have staved off this potential issue that would have started next week with not enough easy money in the system to keep stuff running. We're in a debt-based system. If you pull that back over time, eventually that crashes, right? Look at 1929 and what happened to liquidity there and what
Yeah,
eventually led to the Great Depression. So, yeah, sorry to interject there, but we were facing next week a potential liquidity crisis. By the Fed cutting today, they're basically saying we're trying to push that out.
yeah,
And so
because
they kind of had to cut.
yeah,
Otherwise, you run up against this and you're like, uh-oh, if, and that doesn't mean we won't have bank failures leading up to the end of this year, but it does give us a chance. It does give the administration a chance to get in there and start, like you said, doing a lot of these policies that maybe we don't have the big crash as quick as we thought we would have it.
yeah. 100%. I think when you cut rates, it creates liquidity, right? It creates people or businesses. It makes them want to borrow lower so they can invest. That's why they cut interest rates, but that's also why inflation exists.
Yeah.
So we have a liquidity crunch. When you increase interest rates, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to decrease liquidity, kind of create a deflation. And when you lower interest rates, you're trying to get currency out there. But here's the problem and why I think even though with Trump it's only delayed it, we're still in a major inflationary recession. Everything has gone up in price, and that's why they're cutting interest rates. They don't really want to cut interest rates, but they have to because the inflation is getting out of control
Yep.
because of the liquidity. It's just so many fundamentally wrong situations right now with the economy that the Fed is trying to control, but they can't. They printed way too much money when COVID happened, and even prior. So I don't know, man.
They're sitting on the razor's edge where they're trying to keep the system from collapsing as the world de-dollarizes.
Yeah,
At the same time, they don't want to give up all their bullets because in the next recession, they need to be able to cut. So now we're down to about 4.5 to 4.75. Typically, we've wanted 5 full percentage basis points in a recession. So the Fed's given up some of their ability to combat an oncoming recession to give them more time before the oncoming recession. We're still going to have a recession. It's just what's it going to look like? And
yeah,
it's a really tough thing to do if your pal sitting there going, if I don't cut liquidity crisis, if I do cut, I've got less bullets in the gun later. It's a game of Russian roulette, really.
yeah, 100%. And it's interesting the Trump effect, right? There's a Trump effect in politics, and we talked about it in 2016 that there was nothing he could do wrong. He win, and then 2020. It's very interesting the 2020 election. Looking at the numbers from 16 to today, there's a big difference between his numbers in 2016, his numbers from a few days ago, and what happened in 2020. I see some Democrats saying that. Remember, these are just our personal views, not the views of citizens of Sound Money. That they're like on Facebook, dude, maybe we actually did steal the election. And then the response was, yeah, I'm very embarrassed about this because I
In
mean, look,
2020, the turnout for the Democrats went like this. Whereas you
yeah,
look at the Republicans, it's pretty much, you know,
yeah, exactly,
um, whatever happened to cause that. Maybe in 2020, the liberals and the Democrats were like, we've got to get out the vote. Yeah, that's
yeah.
entirely possible. But usually, I don't know, Daniel, you've been in legislation in this side of things longer than I have. Does this happen in elections where you see the vote jump up 20 million votes and then drops back down 20 million votes?
No, I've never seen that happen in all the elections I've been a part of and studied. It just does not happen that way.
Maybe
So
they were just, drinking energy drinks in 2020. Or like, well, I got to go vote.
yeah, something happened. So but yeah, I think Trump is definitely, the Trump effect isn't just political, it's now economic. I think
Yes.
it's going to delay. And let's talk about gold and silver prices briefly before we close. He said, we went to the Bitcoin 2024 conference together. He
Mm-hmm.
announced that he was going to make a Bitcoin reserve. And how is he going to buy the Bitcoin reserve? Reevaluate all the gold in Fort Knox to buy Bitcoin and make Bitcoin a reserve. So let's go. Here it is. And the day after he got elected, Senator Loomis said that we're still moving forward with the reserve. We have 54 seats now in the Senate, which basically guarantees we're going to get everything we want, and we have a majority in the House. So we got the
Oh, real
House.
quick, do we have a majority in the House? I know I was following the election results, and some of the websites weren't calling a majority in the House. Are we officially there?
I have insiders in Congress.
Yeah.
My congressman, Mike Herodopoulos, told us on Wednesday night, which was 2 days ago, that they have retained control of the House. He is the elected
So it's a
president
clean
of the
sweep.
incoming
Whatever
freshman.
legislation they want, as long as party lines are voting, they're going to get it.
100%. As long as no Republicans switch to the left, everything we want is going to get through.
So yeah, you got the Bitcoin reserve, which is really big, because what it says is they're moving away from the Federal Reserve. Whether it
Yes.
be Bitcoin or gold or whatever the case may be, they're moving away from the Federal Reserve, and that's a huge. I don't know, since 1913 has any president ever done that.
No. Why would they? They can just print money and no, let me rephrase. Print currency, quote unquote money, and spend it however they want. They're literally making profit out of thin air. So
Yeah.
why would they move away from the Federal Reserve? And plus, how many presidents do you actually think understand economics?
Well,
Right?
it's funny, because one of the reasons we're doing our C3, to bring it back to C4SM for a minute, and doing our education, is not only to educate the public, is educate the legislators, because a lot of
Yes.
legislators tell us we don't understand this system. It's almost like the Federal Reserve is a black box, and the politicians don't understand it, and all they know is they can get money printing to get support for the programs. But now that we're getting to the end of this cycle of the fiat system, not only in the US but around the world, politicians are starting to wake up and say, oh, whoops, we've got issues here. And it's not only at the federal level, we saw it at the state level when we were out in Missouri, and when we were out in Florida. You saw that. You saw people tell you, we don't really understand how this works. So we're going to educate the legislators,
Yeah.
so that they can have the knowledge. And how scary is that? Think about, since 1913 to now, how many legislators passed legislation? Think about the Supreme Court and their rulings where they didn't understand really how this financial system worked. And if
Yeah.
there's a great awakening in the political system, and maybe even in the judicial side of things, maybe, we're talking hope, right? Maybe that's hope for America long term, that even when we're going to have a crash and probably currency reset at some point, at least there's an awakening as to what that was. And it gives us the ability to put real alternatives in place, not the CBDCs, what the central banks want, the BIS wants, but maybe something that's more for the people, by the people, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
It's interesting about the whole Bitcoin reserve, because I would even argue, whether or not we buy Bitcoin or not, reevaluating the gold is definitely going to help our economy. It's going to
Yes.
increase the gold price.
Yep.
So I follow what is it, North Star Bad Charts, and they're predicting that within the next 3 to 5 years, that gold's going to hit between $9,000 to $11,000 an ounce, and silver can hit between I've seen it as low as 250 up to $1,100 an ounce.
That's
So
basically a referendum on the dollar and a revaluation of what the dollar's truly. Well, it's saying that gold is worth this in dollar terms, is really telling us what the dollar's worth, which is,
yeah,
at this point, it's a big
nothing.
goose egg.
Yeah. So we're coming to the bottom or the top of the hour here. Let's I guess let's touch a little bit about the future, and maybe touch briefly on the TV show, get people a little excited about what we're doing.
Yeah, super quick on the future. I warned people on Twitter and on my YouTube show this week, be careful with the short to medium term, because we still have the financial issues. We covered that here. No need to rehash it. no reason if you're in gold and silver to get out of your gold and silver positions, or if you're in Bitcoin to get out of Bitcoin, whatever you're doing to hedge dollar risk, right? To your portfolio, or just your ability to live a normal life, normal American life. And I think that just be careful there. There is a lot of hope, and there is a lot of change, but that takes time. So
Yeah.
don't think that we're out of the woods and go crazy and go spend all, go to Vegas and put it all on black, right? That's not what we're advocating. And I think there's, with the TV show, not to get too far into it because we're still pre-producing and producing.
Early, yeah.
Citizens for Sound Money is currently working on a television show that'll be out on mainstream television, eventually on the streaming services, where we're interviewing people in and around the financial system, but we're also boots on the ground. We're talking to people that have been affected by this to get that message out. We're doing the legislation, but what we realized is we need to get to more people, and we can do so much through social media, so much through visiting all these legislators. But if we can actually get on mainstream media and do something and educate people, so look for that announcement sometime next year. Again, we're still working on that, but we've had a lot of good partners in the space help us with financing, help us with content, help us with logistics. It really has been a coming together of a lot of people in the space, from businesses to the public to organizations like ours, to develop that. And it's a really truly inspirational type thing. I'm flabbergasted that something like this is happening. It's going to be groundbreaking for our
Yeah.
industry. It's never been done before. And I'm just honored and humbled to be a part of it. And I don't want to promise anything too quick. Like I said, we're still working on the logistics and working on the details, but stay tuned for some big announcements with regard to all of our educational initiatives at Citizens for Sound Money in the next few months. I think it's going to be very positive. It's going to blow people's minds.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna
Yeah.
be huge. So, this is our first show of the Dan and Rob show, Sound Money, Sound Markets, and Sound Politics at Citizens for Sound Money. I do want to give a shout out to our late founder and our chairman emeritus, Jim Forsyth. We all miss you at Citizens for Sound Money. We wish you were here still doing these, and I'm getting emotional. And yeah, we're doing all this because of him and because of you, Jim. So we thank you so
God bless
much.
him. He's up in heaven watching this, and he fought his entire life for this. And
Yeah,
we love you, Jim. We're thinking about you. We pray for you, and we know you're looking down on us. And
amen. Yeah,
thanks for everything that you did to get this kicked off. We definitely have to. We have to thank Jim for starting this and bringing us all together in a way in which we can kind of carry forward his vision and hopefully help millions upon millions of people. That's our goal.
100%. And we're carrying his torch of freedom forward, and we're going to do everything we can to see his vision through with Citizens with Sound Money. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this, and if you want to be a part of Citizens with Sound Money, we just launched our membership program. It's called the Pioneer Membership. If you go to our website, and let me actually pull it up here. How do I share this? There we go. If you go on our website, go to become a member. And when you join, you get exclusive access to our metal markup app that shows you some of the cheapest bullion prices in the U.S., Canada, and yeah, it's an exclusive benefit of Citizens for Sound Money. It's similar to fine bullion prices, but we actually have cheaper bullion prices than on finebullion.com. So please go ahead and join. It's $25 a year. And you're helping out with us pushing sound money legislation.
Yeah.
So again,
One last thing. If you guys are watching this video, please put questions for our next stream.
Yes.
The Dan and Rob show is going to be a pivotal part of us going forward at C47. We want this to be interactive. We actually may be doing some live streams in the future, but please post questions for us down either in the chat for the video or down in the comments, and we'll try to get back to you. Or email us. On the Citizens for Sound Money website, you can email us, and we'll try to answer all those questions on the show for you. We want to engage you guys. This is all about you. It's not about us. It's about the people, we the people, and we definitely want to hear your voice.
Absolutely. Well, or you can call us at 877-749-1776, 877-749-1776. It rings the phone, the work phone, and I get it on my cell phone. So thank you all for joining, and we will see you in the next episode of the Dan and Rob Show, Sound Money, Sound Markets, and Sound